to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. It's me, Tom Dutta, like Butta. We're here for another fantastic show. I've got in the green room Dr. Amin Sanaia. We've just been laughing and having fun on a day that's kind of mixed emotions for him, and he'll tell you that story. We never know what we're going to get on the Quiet Warrior Show. Everybody, we're live streaming. Live streaming is next generation of broadcasting. So we are now live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Wherever you are, if you see us, please, you can chat with the host and the guest. If you chat with us, we'll put it on the screen. That'll become part of the production. This will not be part of the show, but I want to make a special announcement here. We've been doing a little preview on a project I've been working on. I'm going to full screen another camera here. You can see in the studio, folks. This is my second book that's coming out. My co-author is Donna J. Setterland out of California. Donna is a Disney classic style illustrator. The book, The Quiet Warrior Teaches Genie. The book is actually the second book to the first that came out in 2017. Thank you to all my fans. We have almost 200 reviews written online for that one. This one was written as a hybrid business book with stories. This one is special because it is what they call an anthology. You can see the back is kind of funky. That mask there, more on that later. The anthology has 12 contributing stories. The book is all about easy brain skills to create happiness. When I had a brain injury, everybody, I fell into depression, and I had to fix the way I walked and I spoke. It was crazy. Through that, I attracted a lot of people who went into told me their stories about mental illness and getting through it. So I'm going to show you how beautiful this is. It's fully illustrated. It's amazing. And so this is one of the contributing stories. I'm going to feature just today Lee Cockrell, and his story is called Magic to Tragic. So you can see the way it's laid out. He's got his stories. There's Lee there. And I'll just read a little paragraph. For years, I believed I was as strong as steel. Nothing bothered me. I slept great, had high energy, and was always emotionally under control. Even when I had constant pressure thrown at me when I headed up the operations of the Walt Disney World Resort for 10 years after opening Disneyland Paris, I didn't really worry about much of anything. I was cool, calm, collected. For years, my nickname was Low-Key Lee. That's really true, everybody. Lee's become a friend, and that's exactly what we talk about. Lost my camera there. Let me just go back again and put this back on the screen there. There we go. But the last paragraph is important. Everything came easily to me until I retired at 65. My wife Priscilla became very sick from a failed bowel resection with surgery because of diverticulitis. The complications lasted for almost 2 years with multiple trips to the hospital. My main responsibility was now to take care of her day and night. I went from magic to tragic and back. And so the last part of the story, what Lee gave us, and you can see it's a kind of a cool picture there of Mickey and Minnie. He gave us permissions, but at the end of each story are just hacks. So the guests have given us their top 5 hacks they use to get through mental illness. Lee's an amazing man now, and he teaches all over the world. But enough about that. I'm going to now honor our guest and bring him onto the screen here. So thanks for being patient there in the green room. Let me just bring him on. All right, Dr. Amin Sanaia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tom.
Hey, man, thanks for being patient. Here I am doing a show for you, and I'm blabbing about my own book. How ridiculous is that?
It's not. It's actually pretty interesting. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I started reading your first book, so I'll probably continue and read the second one as well.
That's awesome, man. You talk a little funny there. Where are you from?
Funny story. So growing up, I was born in Dominican Republic, but because of my name, people assume that I'm from the Middle East. So my whole life, it's been really funny because I'll have people from the Middle East come up and speak to me in Arabic or one of their dialects, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I speak English and Spanish. That's it. So it's really fun growing up.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And it's funny how the world has changed, but we could say anything we want. Like the Middle East could be the Middle East of Florida, the Middle East of Vancouver. I'm here on the west coast of Canada. I'm going to just have some fun with you for a minute here. Everybody, you're going to just get a lot of fun today and also some serious stuff. Check it out. I mean, look at the shape of that guy's head. I mean, are we like, I'm seriously, we said this before coming on, brothers from other mothers. Like, look at it. If I grow a stubble like yours, my dad had early gray, it looks just like that. So I think what this is doing for me, it's giving me an idea where when you're gone, I'll change my name and I'll just do some stuff and add it in and they'll think it's you.
There you go.
All right, listen, I'm going to put something else on the screen here and let's see if you can see this. There it is. And so everybody, I usually do, I'm not one of those who edits my show. I want it to be authentic, real. And I mean, every time I do this, I usually just up front talk about the guest. I don't do those afterwards bolt-on kind of intros. I think it's fake. So I asked Amin and his agents to give me what he was about, and this is what came. I'll just read it out. People who are listening to podcasts won't see this. But Amin's bio kind of came with this header, a people-first approach. I love that. As someone with extensive experience as a professor, author, servant leader, professional speaker with a John Maxwell certification, I've honed my coaching skills and critical attention to detail, experimenting with various techniques and learning from colleagues I admire. I developed a passion for serving others, galvanizing others to grow their skills, and adopt an altruistic mindset that puts people above profits. I lend my expertise to help you navigate obstacles, practice self-improvement. And Amin goes on to say, whether you dream of starting your business, need to recalibrate your career or path, or leverage your strengths for the better, I share valuable insights to help you do so. For organizations, I provide unique coaching program allowing your organization to keep and get the team you want. So I'm going to keep that on the screen there for a minute. But do you remember when you sent me that, what I challenged you? Do you remember I challenged you a little bit?
Yeah, so it was kind of different, and I loved it because myself, I'm known as a maverick, so I never stay in boundaries, so you can't give
All
me
right.
boundaries.
So this is where I get to love you and love your story, man, because I get these bios and everybody, this didn't come this way. In fact, in this man's book, he's written his true authentic story. I just am teaching the world that we have to share our vulnerable stories in order to be seen as real. So let me flip the PowerPoint slide here. So in my mind, when I got that one, I went, what a bunch of BS. He's so great. He's better than everybody in the world. And you know, I'm kidding because you got a lot of talent. But this is what came back when I said, look, tell me your gut punches. Tell me what it's all about. So I want you to read a bit of this. Go ahead and see if you can. I don't know if it's too small there.
Sure. Well, I can tell you, I mean, in my own words, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So I faced hardships throughout my entire life, and I think that's what's really driven me, and learning a lot from my parents, the hardship that they had to do. So as a very young child, me, my brother, and my sister, we had to relocate to New York City from Dominican Republic. And when we got there, number one, we didn't know the language. So that was a culture shock. My parents were both professionals in Dominican Republic. When we got to New York, my mom had to go work in a sweatshop. My dad had to go work in different cleaning odd jobs. 6 months of us being here, my dad was already here about a year and a half, but 6 months into me and my brother and my sister being here, my dad becomes disabled for life. So life got real, like real.
Wow.
And that, I think that period of time, I shouldn't say I think, I know that period of time, I can remember vividly. Some nights was a struggle, man.
I bet. And I'm just going to take it back from you there and let you catch your breath. To everybody, we're going to honor that. So, just listen to that part of what you just heard. I'm going to full screen again for the podcasters. You'll have to watch the video. But, this little second bio that you sent, I mean, there's a couple lines in there. He says, I worked hard in school, did very well, started a career, etc., doctorate, etc., etc. But the one line that really got my heart is, this period of time has shaped my life. I'm driven to be successful because I promised myself that my family will never experience this again. Man, just talk about that because that's classic hero's journey. When we experience pain, it drives us, and not everybody answers the call. But that was your moment, right? Where you, all this stuff you just told us, something in you drove you to say, I'm going to never have this happen again for my family. And then you went out to bless the world. Tell us how you kind of shaped yourself from there.
Yeah. So those moments were hard. And as a kid, and not only as a kid, but also young adults, you get to points in your life where you have to make a decision whether you're going to make it or not. And for me, uh, watching the pain of my dad not being able to provide for my family that my mom had to because my dad wasn't physically able to, that that just, I mean, it just drove me
Yeah.
like, okay, this is real. Like, I'm blessed with two amazing parents, um, that no matter what, they were going to do whatever it took,
Yeah.
to
Wow.
give us the best life that they could. Because in Dominican Republic, we were very well off. I mean, we lived a very nice life, but then we go to New York City and we have nothing. We
Wow.
nothing.
See, that's fascinating me because going back to that PowerPoint bio we put up, you said something about mom working in a sweatshop. Give us a picture of that. What did that look like? What was it? The sweatshop.
My mom had left. She got up about 4 in the morning. She went to work, and we didn't see her until 6, 7 o'clock at night.
Crazy. And what was
And,
the what was the industry or whatever she was working in?
she was just she was sewing in a big
Yep.
factory. So she had to take a couple of trains, a couple of buses, because we lived in New York City and she was in the outskirts in New Jersey somewhere,
Yeah.
in this factory. So I mean, she was out. We didn't get to see my mom on, until the weekends. Um, it
Yeah.
was
She sounds like an amazing lady. What's her first name?
lesbia.
Lesbia. And she's still with you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll honor you, Lesbia. What a great story. You know, for all the listeners out there, teaching moment, Amin, I just want to honor that and your mom, that I've learned to say this about my own parents because I love my parents, but as many people who follow me know, it didn't start out that well with my dad. I mean, and I know you'll find that out a bit more about me, but I didn't really look at the backstory behind my dad of how he was raised, and his was pretty tragic. So he became a mirror of that into my life. But they say somebody told me on a show once, a guest said your mother has one job, that's to pop you out, and then the rest of it is you let them fly. But this, you just triggered a story in me, man, about my mom. My dad was an electrician when he came to Canada.
Yeah.
He, same kind of story. Immigrants brought my brother and I. We now have two brothers. We're in a basement suite. My dad pumped gas. He came here. They didn't recognize what he did back in Fiji. Pumped gas, became a journeyman apprentice. But at night, my mom's at classrooms cleaning toilets and things just to bring in some money. And I remember reading in something there in your bio too. There were days where you didn't see food. How many people in North America have had that experience? We live in land of plenty for many, but I want to leave it at this and give it back to you. I mean, that when you really look deeply at the fabric of North America, there's far more people in poverty and with stories like these than we hear about. This is what these people, your mom in the sweatshop, you and your dad, you're the ones who I believe power the world forward. They're entrepreneurs. There's something special going on in your mind today. It's a tough one, I think. Tell us your dad's name and a little bit about his situation.
Yeah. So my dad is his name is Julio Sanaya. My dad, great man. Uh, Very complicated person. But my dad at heart, he was a really fun individual. He his number one thing was his family. I mean, we are his everything.
Yeah.
But I think the life struggles of when he became disabled and he couldn't provide for the family, that's hard on the man, especially his generation. That's,
Yeah.
the dad was the one that went to work and provided for the family. The mom, basically stay home and
Yeah.
raise the kids. So I think that really was hard on him throughout his life, and
Yeah.
I don't think he ever got a chance to let that out or seek some help
Sure.
with that. Um, but I mean, throughout the journey of us growing up, I appreciate the them doing anything and everything possible for us to have anything.
Yeah.
So that's just so important. My dad, unfortunately, has been sick for a very long time, and he's coming to his last days. So uh, it's bittersweet. But I want to honor my dad and celebrate him
Yeah.
for everything he did for me, for my sister, for my late brother.
Yeah.
Um, it's just, I mean, he's an incredible man, an incredible role model, and the
Yeah.
stories he has. Oh man, we can go on for days. So I'm gonna honor him in a way where I'm gonna be able to
Nice.
tell his stories in the future.
I love it, man. Catch your breath, everybody. First of all, I love you, man. Your story. I honor you and your dad, Julio. How old is he now?
81.
So everybody, we were talking just before in the green. We came on live that he's uh, Doctor or Amin is in West Palm Beach, Florida, where his dad is. So he's in hospice, and he's on his last moments. So we were just talking about that. So what a hero you are, man. There's a lot of people who go through this. My wife did a few years ago with her dad. My dad had a unexpected heart attack in his bed, so I never got to see his last moments. But here you are, dude, and this is part of your story of resilience. You're making time. You found a space to do this podcast, live stream on a day where it's hard for you. So, just want to appreciate that, and we'll put in the thread of the story. I want to ask you about when after you found that magic moment, and in the hero's journey narrative, they call that the call to adventure. Joseph Campbell, Dr. Campbell talks about that, where we have things happen in our life, and usually when it's pain, we go, I don't want this anymore, get angry and do something. So you did something with your life, and in the introduction, we talked about a doctor, a professor, an author. I mean, dude, I bet you had one of those cars that went up and down like this. Did you have one of those?
Yep.
We got to get podcast chairs that are hydraulic that go like
Yep.
this. So when you're on shows, man, you got to bring a bit of yeah. Now you're talking. Look at his head. Oh my God, good to see you laugh.
Yeah.
But something happened. We're going to talk about your book in a minute. But you then started doing some stuff to shape yourself. Just give us a bit of that story about how you developed yourself.
So growing up at a younger age, I realized that I was called to be with people.
Yeah,
I love interacting with people. So through a youth group, I was a youth minister, and we volunteer at a retirement community
yeah,
every Saturday. And for me, I think that time period really helped me realize what I was called to do. Uh, I was
How
there.
old were you? How old were you, and how long ago was that?
I was 18. Well, I was between 17 and about 21. So I volunteer a lot of places. No, it was 19. I'm sorry, 19 to
Yeah,
about 22. I volunteer there, and I just look forward to it every Saturday.
yeah,
Uh, really spending time with our greatest generation and getting to know them, their stories. Oh my God, the stories you hear. But the one thing that really uh, touched me is that these people were looking for human connection. They didn't have that. So they go to a retirement community. While it
yeah,
was a very nice retirement community, they still didn't get that human connection. And they were looking to really pass on their gifts and teach us as young adults what life is truly about and their life lessons. And just doing that shaped my entire career. That, you know what, how do I impact people's lives
yeah,
in a way where their last days are meaningful. And that's how it started. I started my career as a healthcare administrator, and as I grew in my profession, I decided I want to do a little bit more. This is not enough.
Yeah.
So I decided to get more educated, get more training. I read a lot of books. I got certifications, and I continue this journey of, I was looking for more and more and more. I
Yeah.
wanted to grow more, and how do I impact more people? And I got to a point where now I get to really truly impact leaders that are going to impact others. So it's a multiplication of, yeah, of the gifts I have. I can pass it on through people.
That's amazing. Now, I just a couple of things to talk about. That sent my mind on a journey here. Just I want to bring something. You volunteered in ministry. This was in America, right?
Yes.
And youth. You were about 19. Did you become an ordained pastor or anything, or are you just a
No,
volunteer? Okay.
just volunteer.
And do you think that you found your way into ministry, the calling, because you needed something in your life because of what had gone on? Let's put it this way: many people turn to ministry or God to learn something, to be taught when they're searching for something, when maybe there's pain in their life. What led you there?
I think what you said is right on point. It's just I was looking for something, and I think that gave me purpose,
Nice.
to to I was looking for, and I found it, and
Yeah,
that just let me catapult me to
love it.
realize this is what I'm meant to do.
So everybody, we're just going to go back in time, let you catch your breath again. I'm going to put something back on the screen here. So we started off, and again, the story's evolving here, everyone. So, Dr. Amin Sanaia with us. We're honoring his father who's on his last days right now, and he's in West Palm Beach, Florida, doing this show with us. But he came from the Dominican Republic and didn't have it all, together to step into a land like, the New York City, encountered all the things that a lot of those out there immigrants do. Mom working in a sweatshop, dad a floor technician. His own drive to make it work here came from well-to-do back home. Not much going on here. Culture shock, he used the words. And then he just talked to us about how at age 19 he came into ministry. He found the Lord. He found something in ministry and started working with 19-year-olds and heard their stories. And from there, went educated himself. I think you got a doctorate as well, right? A PhD.
Absolutely.
Where did you do the PhD?
Liberty University.
Okay, so if I break my arm, I can't call you and ask you to stitch me up, but I can call you for your wisdom, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Everybody, I honor education. I'm like you and me and Dr. Amin. I came out. My father left home when I was 12. He was an alcoholic. He was a military commanding officer. So I sort of had a lot of ability and talent, but I didn't go to university right away. I went and got into business, fast track pretty quick to the C-suite, but I got somebody else to pay for I always learned about this saying, the OPM, other people's money. And it was a cool thing. But I've learned through my own education, getting my degree in things, that the doctoral level is one of the highest levels of achievement. And so I want to put on the screen here something that we can have a bit of fun talking about. And who's that guy?
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's another guy with a head shaped like ours. Come on. All right, I'm going to play something here, and then I'm going to get you to talk about it, okay? So everybody, what we're looking at here is empower your leadership, unlocking your potential through communication, respect, authenticity, vulnerability, and empathy. This is Dr. Sanaia's book. It's available on an audiobook, so I've got it on the screen for podcasters. We're going to just play a track. This is chapter 1. I'm going to play it. It's called What is Leadership? It's very short. And then I'm going to ask you to talk about it from your perspective. So let me just see if I can get this going here. Hold on, Dr. Me. That's why we do live stream. We can clean this up later. Okay, tell me if you hear the sound when it starts. Just give me a thumbs up. Here we go.
What is leadership? Leadership is the ability of an individual to influence and guide followers in an organization. It involves making sound decisions, establishing achievable goals, articulating a clear vision, and providing followers or team members with the tools and knowledge necessary to achieve the desired goals. In this regard, leadership can be viewed in several ways. The process of social influence maximizes the efforts of followers or team members toward achieving a goal. The action of leading others in a group, team, or organization. The act of influencing others to follow you. The capacity to translate vision into reality. The ability to influence others to act. What
All right, let's take the fine lady off the screen there. It sounds like that was either an AI voice or like voice actor. So good on you to get this audiobook up there. I'm going to give it back to you. I want to ask you this question to talk about, Dr. Amin, and that is one of the things I've observed, particularly from my own leadership as a CEO myself, but then I developed my own self into coaching and like things like what you do, is this thing about getting others to follow you. It seems to be a challenge for a lot of people. They just don't seem to connect. They have blind spots. Talk about what was there. What is leadership, and how you discovered the meaning of that, and what advice you have for people to get others to follow them in this framework.
Well, at a very early age for me, I was very curious about how the human connection happens. So I decided to read a lot about it, especially in the leadership sense. I decided to read books from Jim Collins, Peter Drucker, and later on John Maxwell. These guys really shaped my leadership abilities and curiosity. And I decided to implement a lot of the things that they used in that they wrote about in their books, and just those experiences have allowed me to, number one, I document when I in my early years, my leadership style and the tools that I use, and look at what was successful and what wasn't. And
let me just interject. Let me interject
Sure.
there and just take us back. I'm curious about this, and thank you for letting me step on you. Tell me about what you learned. What was your leadership style then when you started documenting it? What were your strengths and any limitations, and then how did you shift that, if anything, from what you've learned and you teach now? Just any one or two things.
That's a great question right there, Tom. So when I became a leader, or I will say a manager, because I wasn't a leader yet, I thought that I needed to know everything, do everything, be everything. That it was about me, and
Wow.
I quickly realized that, holy crap, it's not leadership.
Absolutely.
Leadership is about others.
Wow.
How you connect with others.
Yeah.
Getting to know them. You need to get to know your people. If you know your people, you can be successful.
Give me one little I call it a hack, something you do to do what you just said. I mean, you're probably doing it with me, but if you're telling somebody, here's one thing you can do when you're talking to somebody to connect.
When you first get to meet someone, ask open-ended questions and shut up.
I love it. Teaching moment, everybody. So we just asked Dr. Sanaia, because he described his leadership, if I can say this, correct me if I'm wrong, his early leadership style. This is a cool thing, everyone. Go back and listen to this. But what this man did was document. He went and educated himself, read books, got his doctoral, studying people, goes and falls on his own sword and documents his own leadership style. All of you leaders out there, how many of you have had a 360 degree, I'm putting up my hand, where you get the results and you run to your cave, you throw it in a drawer and say, who cares? I got blind spots. People have to get used to it. Wrong. He documented his style and told you that it was always about him. And then he told you a hack about asking open questions, shut up and listen. What a great teaching moment there. We're going to bring the book up again here and have you some fun. Boy, I got to send you a check for this. I'm doing marketing for your book, man. I never thought I would be doing this, but it's a lot of fun. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. That's what this is all about. So this one here, I just want to make it a little bit bigger. So everybody, we're in the studio. You're getting bloopers and things too. So that's why we do this before we clean it up. There it is. So we're with Dr. Amin Sanaia and his book, Empower Your Leadership. We're now looking at the audiobook, Chapter 7. This is one of my favorite topics, by the way, vulnerability. So let's see what
So,
Mrs. Sanaia has to say.
Vulnerability. V. A strong figure typically comes to mind when you think of a great leader. In any case, weakness is not among the traits people assign to leaders. On the contrary, leaders are expected to be professional, stoic, and visibly unperturbed in any situation. However, leaders are humans too, and have their highs and lows. While you may always be expected to be tough and provide direction to your team, sometimes you will have to be weak and vulnerable. At a glance, vulnerability may be seen as a weakness. In fact, vulnerability is often treated as a liability in leadership, as leaders are constantly being pressured to perform at higher levels than others. Besides, leaders are the ones who are expected to have a vision and act to bring it to fruition. They are also expected to answer tough questions whenever they arise. However, this view of vulnerability in reality prevents leaders from being effective.
Oh my goodness, there's a lot there. I mean, you know how cool this is. I just got again, man. I'm just pouring love all over you. I want to do a shout out to Julio there, who's I'm sure laying in his bed at peace, listening to this through God. That you have a great son here who's just pouring wisdom out. Listen to this, man. All of you people who are watching and listening to my show all over internationally, wherever you are, that are young up and coming leaders, the next generations. I mean, my daughter's 24. She's in university fourth year. They're going to run the world. And what you just said there about the pressures of having to perform and all this and be perfect. If I'm them, I'm shaking in my boots going like, oh my God, I just grew up with a father who told me what to do all the time, who command and control, who's a boss all the time. And now I got to go into the workplace and I can't really be like that. I've got to be somebody like, tell me about this. So I'm going to shut up now and learn what you told me. Tell us a bit about that little piece there, man, about the vulnerability, and then what's the shift? What do we got to do?
so it I think it resonates a lot with what the previous conversation that we just had about when I realized that I didn't need to be perfect, that it's not about me, it's about others. It goes into vulnerability. So being vulnerable, while people might think that being vulnerable as a leader makes you weak, it actually makes you relatable to others.
Wow.
And when you're a leader, you need to be relatable. People need to see you as a leader, but have you close enough where they can touch you. They know that, hey, you're here. One of the things that I love doing when I'm leading a team is the first thing I do is make fun of myself. Or if I make a mistake, I'm the first one. Hey, I made a mistake. This is what I did. Own it. When you do that, you put people at ease and they're like, okay, so he's not perfect. I don't have to be
Yeah.
perfect. I can be myself and it's okay to make mistakes. Yes, it's okay to make mistakes and own them.
Okay, you're talking. So let's just jump into role play. You're talking now to the CEOs who are watching this. These are the ones that I always say I'm an advocate for improving mental health that have the megaphone. They're at the top. They get all the attention from the media. They have their vision. They've just heard what you said, and tell them why it's okay to be vulnerable and how by showing something that maybe is a weakness or a little self deprecation, how that makes the people in the room and their team see them. Because many of these guys and gals don't get it. They think that if I'm weak, my team's going to not think I've got the strength. Just give some comfort in what you've experienced coaching people and teaching this. When they make that shift, what happens?
Well, when people are able to really stop being their own worst enemy
Yeah.
by thinking that they have to lead with an iron fist, or that they have to lead by intimidation, or they have to have this persona
Yep.
in order to get people to respect them. that's false. uh, in the short term, if in the short term you can do that, but that wears out. If you truly want to build a dynamic team
Yeah,
for your organization to be successful, you need to be relatable people. They
I
need to
see.
see you as human. And if you're not vulnerable, you're not human.
Thank you. That's a T again, everybody. We're talking with Dr. Sanaia. He's the author of Empower Your Leadership, and what he's just talking to us about is vulnerability. And if you make that shift, especially as top leaders who feel that that's a weakness, it changes your relatability. I think I'm going to roll in one more fun part of the book. Are you enjoying listening to your book? it's pretty. It's kind of fun, isn't it? Seeing your own work. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's pretty cool. Obviously I had to read it so many times, to listen to it
Uh-huh.
so many times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool
Yeah.
having someone to enjoy it
Great.
with.
All right, great. I'm doing this for a reason, because we're going to loop in a little bit about your dad here, and I'm going to just keep it really honorable because I know his situation. But everybody, if you look on the screen, again, if you're on the podcast, we're looking at the audiobook called Empower Your Leadership by the author here, Dr. Sanaia. The chapter 3 is about attributes of a great leader. I love this question because I ask people that. I'm just curious, what's an attribute of a great leader? And you get everything, right? And then sometimes you get deer in the headlight. Like, what do you mean? What's a leader?
Yeah.
What's also interesting is if you ask this question in sports, like if you ask Michael Jordan, what's the definition of great leader? Or you ask this in, even as a broadcaster who's in media, gosh, you get different answers. So probably another doctoral thesis, what's the definition of leadership depending on your environment, I think.
Yep.
What I want to talk about here is our fathers. So I want to get a story out of you, man, because we want to honor your dad because he's on his deathbed. And you said to me, man, he's got so many stories. So what we're going to do is play this little clip for a minute. Then I want you to take it back and give us one story about your good old dad, Julio, where a great story where you saw him as a leader, something he did that he left with you as his son. Because I know there's probably a lot of stuff that wasn't as good to learn because our dads, they didn't always grow up understanding how to be motivating, right? They did the best what
Yep.
they could. But he's probably got some good ones. So let's play this clip for a minute here. Here we go.
Attributes of a great leader. We have all probably at some point had a boss that was too difficult to work for or with.
Yep.
The boss probably focused too much on our mistakes and made us dread coming to work. A bad boss is a bad leader who lacks empathy and the capacity to influence others to act. However, if you have been fortunate enough to work with a great boss, you understand what it means to be a great leader. A great leader listens, values others, and motivates them to achieve their full potential. They create a safe space for everyone to contribute to the goals of the team and guide the team to achieve a common goal. Many things define a great leader. You could be considered a great leader if you have integrity, courage, self-awareness, empathy, respect, and gratitude. In addition, learning agile and flexing your influence while communicating and delegating tasks effectively would be best. While the list of key leadership qualities that define greatness can be long, learning and improving on each is critical.
All right. I love that. So let's give it back to you now. A story about your dad and something he taught you.
There's
I
okay.
know.
Here we go.
All
Here
right,
we
man.
go. So the reason why we came to this country was my dad. His role in Dominican Republic, he was the president of the largest labor union in Dominican Republic. Uh, a lot of the employees in the labor union were government employees. So at that time in the 70s, late 70s, um, there most of these employees had no benefits. They didn't know what that was. They didn't know what time off was.
That's crazy.
Very little labor laws. So my dad, as being the president of the labor union, he was they were doing strikes. They were trying to negotiate a lot of stuff that nowadays the the employees that work there have that because of my dad. but during that time, um, it was very contagious. It got very ugly.
Mm.
So at one point, my the president of the Dominican Republic asked to meet with my dad, and they did. They went to me, and he came to my father, and he pretty much tried to bribe him. He gave him a blank check and told him, "Here you go. Stop the strikes. Just accept whatever contracts we're going to give you, and go away."
Wow.
Well, my dad, say thank you, and he ripped up the check and gave it right back to him.
Oh my goodness. What a character move. Keep going. I'm so excited to hear this.
So after that, then my dad, his life started, it got in jeopardy. So
Yeah.
he was he there was multiple assassination attempts on him, and the last time they did that, there was a struggle. They incarcerated him, and they pretty much told my dad and my mom they had to leave the country, so they left. Me, my brother, and my sister has stayed with my grandparents for about a year until we can get visas, and then a year and a half later, we got visas, and we were all
Yeah.
exiled out of our country, pretty much. Told never to come back. So that's
Wow. So when you, oh my goodness, I just want you to catch your breath, man. First of all, thank you for sharing that, because I know each time you share a story, the brain has to relive the emotion. Everybody, that's incredible. That's like a movie in the making, dude. And that's a big, now I'm listening to all the things you're teaching, and I don't know if you know this, but you just became even more credible and real to me, because I'm just thinking about what you went through your dad. My
Mhm.
dad was in the union, by the way. He was a electrician when we came to Canada, and he was laid off, so that they never looked after him. I was kind of frustrated for him. And by the way, on a side story, my dad had $100,000 RSP pension at the end of his career, and Bernie Madoff, that goof in America, took 100,000 out of his pension. So my dad pretty much died under poverty. How's that for a full circle? But my dad
Mhm.
was the president of the Fiji Cat Association here, and he was a lot like, sounds like your dad. He was a fighter for rights. He had owned the Fiji Canada Times, a little rag he used to write. And my dad used to say to us, if we travel to Fiji, our name's on a list. He said, and it may not be very good.
Mhm.
Let me go back to what it was like for you growing up in a time. Did you understand when they put out these threats towards your dad? Did you really understand what that was?
We
No?
didn't know. All I remember is every time that there was a problem, my mom always had like packed bags for
Yeah.
us. So they would. My dad had informants, so they would just come tell my dad,
Yeah.
"Hey, you guys need to disappear for a little bit." So
Wow.
my mom would, pack us up, and
Yeah.
we would go stay somewhere for
Yeah.
a week or two, and
I
um,
should have asked you ahead of the show to get a picture of your dad, man. It's like put him beside Jimmy Hoffa or something on the screen. It's like legends in the making. But so I want to just finish on this. That I think what you told us is your dad's leadership that he taught you was about character, about integrity.
integrity.
Uh,
My dad told me, as a man, only thing you have is your word.
wow, that's
So,
amazing.
be careful what you promise, be careful what you say, because you're gonna live up to that. And that is something for me. I know nowadays it's
Yeah,
people can just say whatever they want, and
yeah,
they want to twist your words and whatever. But for me, I grew up in that with that teaching that your word, I mean, that's everything. So
yeah.
I'm careful with what I promise, or if I tell you that I'm going to do something, you can rest assured it's going to be done.
Everybody, we're here talking to the author, Dr. Amin Sanaia of the book Empower Your Leadership. He's a executive coach certified. He's also doctoral, written this book, and he teaches leaders. He comes from entrepreneurship, and he just told us an incredible story. I'm not going to repeat it. Go back, listen to it. Unbelievable story of learning. I'm just going to say what your dad did deserves a lot of applause. And so, Dad, if you can, Julio, if you can hear us, man, that is you're leaving a legacy. The I want to bring in just the good book, because you talked about ministry a bit there. That Tell me what you think. I mean, but in the good book, I turned to the Bible, by the way. I was baptized Catholic when I was a kid, and I denied it
Mhm.
because of the strife in my home. It was violent. I took most of that
Sure.
brunt of that from my father, physical, mental. But I always had, like you, I had this resilience to like, I'm going to prove the world's better than this. And when I had my brain injury, I actually put on a cross and I started reading the Bible. And one thing that teaches me, and I don't mind talking about this with you, is I think faith belongs in business. A lot of business people, they
Without a doubt.
pray. And when you're a CEO, have to go into a board meeting and the company's failing, at home maybe you're drinking too much and your wife's about to walk out. Before you go into that thing, I've heard in the cone of silence coaching executives myself and Dr. Amin, like to hear what you think, that they say that they pray and they find this other part. And what the Bible taught me basically is how to live as a good man, because I never saw that in my dad's behavior, never learned it, how to forgive, how to be kind. And this is my last point on it, that you sent me on a journey. What your father did is what's taught in the Bible. It's not about idolatry. It's not about material things. He could have taken the bribe and changed the world, but it was about higher. It's about better than that, right? So
Well, I mean, and when we're done here, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go see my dad, and I'm probably
good,
gonna hug him and kiss him, and
awesome.
because what you said there is so important. So he could have taken the easy road, right?
Yeah,
But he didn't.
yeah,
There's honor, integrity, and he knew the consequences if he didn't.
yeah.
Um, and we lived those consequences. But you know what? I wouldn't change anything that we've lived through, um, because he did the right thing, and
Yeah,
it's about doing the right thing.
that's beautiful. And the Lord, again, in my belief and my faith, the Lord sent his only son to die for us. And, he paid the consequences ultimately for the sins of others. And it always comes down to doing the right thing. I love that. And what a great teaching moment. Do me a favor, when you go see your dad, is he cognitively aware?
He's on and off. He's
Okay.
on. Yesterday he was really good.
Okay.
Yesterday night
Yeah.
he was not.
Listen, it's totally up to you, man. But one of the things that happens with this live stream is it stays on the feed. So if you go to your LinkedIn, the tape's there. Find this little segment about the story if you want, and my comments on your dad. Just put it on. See if he hears it. Whatever you want. If it blesses him, it's
Mhm.
there. Let's move to a couple things as we're wrapping up, because I know you got to get things done there, and there's so much I could keep you on for a long time. Again, everybody, just a quick shout out. We're going to put an image on the screen. We're with Dr. Amin Sanaia, professor, author, leader, and he's been talking to us about language barriers, culture shock, moving from Dominican to New York, and shaping himself into a leader and teacher of others. So I'm going to make an announcement now that I will be posting a 5-star review for your book, sir. It'll
Oh
be,
my God! Thank you
yeah,
so much.
you're welcome. And I know you have reviews, but everybody, I want you to get his book, Empower Your Leadership, because the truth is, authors aren't known, and I'm an author, until you read their books. If you can publish a review on Amazon and also goodreads.com, it allows the sales reps for the bookstores and all to see the book's got a buzz, and make sure it's out there for distribution. And also other readers go and see it and they go, hey, this is a pretty cool book. I think I want to read it. I highly recommend it. It's going to be a 5-star. I'll post it in the final production for you. And everybody get this book. But also it's one of those resource books I like them in, because you can put it on your shelf, especially for people in business who are leaders. It's highly relatable with all these chapters. You saw us today, everybody cherry pick chapters. So if you're doing a business meeting and you want to teach your team that day about vulnerability, you play this little clip off the audiobook, and then you have an open mastermind about it. What a cool thing, man. Gosh, I should send you another request for check. Money, buddy. Marketing. I should be your marketing manager. I'm just kidding.
We can work on that.
I honestly do my show. I don't monetize it, and this is my way, because of what I went through in my life, of giving back to you, my friend. So the second thing we're going to do is we're going to just full screen me for a minute here. So bear with me. You'll disappear. And just talking to me. You see that image on the back of my screen there?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to bring Dr. Mean back, everyone. Most people have heard this so many times, but Dr. Mean, when I started the show, I developed an award, and that is a challenge coin. They were started in World War one. Soldiers would carry them in their pockets. They're actual coins. This one is minted and made in the United States. Sorry, Canada. It's a hand painted and crafted, raised letters. The front is the image of the show with some keywords. The back is actually the hero's journey narrative by Joseph Campbell. It's beautiful. You are now being inducted into the Quiet Warrior Tribe. So congratulations on receiving the award. All right. And that you and I will square that up and get and make sure you get that. By receiving this award, I ask you to publicly now just commit to always serving your purpose with your story and teaching others and making the world better. So you commit to that, right?
Absolutely.
All right. We have these now out in 17 countries. There's about 250 Quiet Warriors worldwide. Very, very exclusive group. Hard to get in because I'll be honest with you, Doctor. I mean, not many people will come on the show and talk about things like you did today, goods and bads, and then take that and turn it into something for good. Last thing is I want to honor you with some words. I've been writing these as you are listening. So these are leadership words. They're on my paper here. Number one is listener. You have amazing listening skills. Number two is motivator. Very motivating in every way, including in your silence and in sharing your stories, your vulnerability, your story of Julio today. You are vulnerable, my friend. It comes out of you. And you're fun. I got you going a couple times there, and there's a side to you. You and I were like brothers from the other mother. So, last word from you before we wrap up. Anything you want, words of wisdom, where people can get a hold of you.
Well, I mean, if you see the scrolling bar down there in my website, it's the easiest way to find me on my website, draminSanaia.com. But final words. I want to say thank you, Tom, for having me, for allowing me to be vulnerable. I think that if we, in our society where we are nowadays, if we can get people to be authentic, be vulnerable, stop being polarizing one way or the other. Most people are not polarizing. But as a leader, if you can be yourself, touch others in a positive manner. As a leader, we are set. We're giving the opportunity to guide people. And that's a huge responsibility. And we don't want to hurt people. So why don't we always do the right thing by others? I know that as leaders, when we're responsible for an organization, and if you're the leader, you're responsible for a set budget or you're responsible for set productivity. But if you just focus on that and not on your people, you're not going to be successful. Now, on the contrary, if you focus on your people, if you focus on getting them the right tools, making sure you're hiring the right people for the right position, and giving them the tools to be successful, you always win. You will always win.
Wow, that's a teaching moment right there, everyone. Again, if in the future we're releasing this as a YouTube premiere video, you'll see Dr. Amin and all his movements on screen, his emotions. On the podcast, you'll hear him. Thank you for that teaching moment. I am going to pay it forward back from you now, because I just had this idea. I'm going to put you on the spot. You know me. That I was talking to a friend the other day. He's actually close to me in some ways through an association, and he comes from another country. He's got 2 master's degrees from there. Very smart man, but he's very shy. He looks down a lot, and he feels inferior because people in this country where he's come, he doesn't think he's smart enough. English second language. He doesn't think he talks fast enough. This man is so bright. He's got such greatness in him. I want you to look in the camera and say to him what you would, as if you're speaking the day you arrived here, because here's the last thing. I said to him, watch this show, because the man you're going to see is the man that I think you're going to be in a few years. So give him some advice of encouragement, man.
What is his name, Tom, if you don't mind?
Yeah, we'll just call him Farhad.
Hey, Farhad. Number one, I kind of chuckle a little bit when Tom was speaking about having an accent and speaking funny, because that's my life story. So yes, I'm sorry, I speak funny. I'm from another country, but you know what? I learned something from a very good friend of mine. A, Another brother from another mother. For me, he told me once, because I used to be really shy, and I really was petrified of speaking, because I thought everyone was going to make fun of me because of the way I speak. I sound funny. But guess what? He told me, lean into that, embrace who you are, because that's where your power is. So I'm going to leave you with that. Embrace who you are. Don't let your mind get in the middle of your success, because we can be our own worst enemies, thinking that because we speak funny, because we look different, because we have a different name that is not common, that people are going to make fun of us. No, not really. A lot of people are curious, and they want to know, hey, who is this funny guy that speaks funny?
There you go.
So lean into that.
You are an amazing man. Thank you so much. I get going again every time you speak, and I'm thinking like all the people I've met in this country, because I thought the color of my skin was something that was disadvantaged. And then later in life, I go, wait a minute, all these guys, they tell me they're going to the beach in the summer. They want to get brown. It's like, what's wrong with that? And then I was thinking as you were talking, my name is Tony Montana. That's your brand, man. That's how you stand out. Dude, that's how you stand out, right? Shit,
Yep.
if you were just like vanilla, and no pun intended, I'd be bored. But yet that what you gave there is great wisdom. Harness your brand. It's the only story you can tell, and be proud of it.
Absolutely. Own
That's
it.
all. That's awesome. All right. Well, listen, everybody, find that true purpose and passion like you hear from Dr. Amin Sanaia. Live that life that you deserve and desire. And Amin, it's been a blessing, an honor. You, thank you, and we'll welcome you back again anytime.
Thank you. God bless you, Tom. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca.
Yeah, I'm just taking us off.